Hey guys, it's Chris here from Chris's Creative Life, and I design workshops that help you create beautiful projects from start to finish with easy to follow guides. So, as promised, last week I created a super fun slimline card that featured the stamp of the month, and I thought I would come on and recreate it in an A2 size version. So like a standard card front. And just do some chatting. So I'm going to put you down on my desk right now, and I'll put myself back up in the corner. So I'm not sure if you can actually see it on this card, but I did create some of my own sand across the bottom. So I'm going to do some coloring. I'm going to do create my background, and we're going to add the sand to the bottom. So just give me 1 second here. I'm just going to share this over into my classroom also, and then we could get started. So I did actually create one version here beforehand because I needed to let my sand dry. And this one has lots more texture than my original one. So I'm not even really sure which one I like more, but it is definitely a fun little card. So here we go. Let me just, here we go. Share. Okie dokie. So I did create the background with Distress Oxides. So I have some Mermaid Lagoon and a peacock feathers. And then to actually create my sand, I'm going to use some of the opaque texture paste. I'm going to use a little bit of re-inker, and I did grab toffee. And then you know how, like, when the sand kind of sparkles when you look at it in the right kind of light? So I'm going to add some Stickles. And so I did pick the Platinum Stickles. So as you can see here, there is a little bit of like a shine when you move the card around. So those are the things that I'm going to use. So let's get started. So there you go. Okay, so for this one, like I said, I just cut out, I'm going to actually add the shaker right onto the front of the card. So I cut a piece of white daisy that is the same as my card front, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm going to first add my Distress Oxides. I'm going to splatter them with a little bit of water. And then we're going to create our sand because that part has to dry, and then I'll do my coloring. And like I said, I do have this backup piece if my sand doesn't dry, which I expect it probably not to. So I wanted to have kind of like it would look murky, or like the ocean is not all the same color. So I did use the Mermaid Lagoon around the outside, and then I added the peacock feathers on the inside. So we're going to do that exact same thing right now. A whole pile of markers here for coloring. So I just grabbed a little piece of paper so that I can actually put my fingers down on my piece of white daisy while it is still wet with the Distress Oxide inks. So I did add the mermaid around the outside, and then I kept more of the peacock feathers towards the inside. But I also, like I said, I kind of wanted that really blended, like the ocean isn't all the same color happening on the card. So, and then I took a couple of images from the stamp set, and I have stamped them already so that they would dry so that I could color them. And so I'm not really worried so much about getting like a solid coverage here because I'm going to add a second color to kind of blend it out a little bit, right? So just move that over to the side. I'm going to add my peacock feathers now in the middle. And then blend it out to the outside. So this is the stamp of the month is actually called oh my goodness, what? Voices of the Sea. So when you place a qualifying order, if you're a VIP, then you can earn the stamp set for free. Or if you place a qualifying order, you can get it at a discounted price. So, and this is the July one, Voice of the Sea. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little bit more blending here. And I can go just a little bit back and forth with my other blender. I'm kind of just keeping my fingers to the outside because if you put too much pressure, you will for sure get fingerprints on it. And so here we go. So I'm actually kind of happy with this. So I'm going to close up my ink and I'm just going to splatter some water on here so we can start making like the distress inks start to distress. And then I'm going to create my sand. And this actually is super, super fast, the whole procedure. Like I said, just the only issue is like the sand has to dry a little bit. So I'm just going to splatter it with some water drops just to give it a little bit more ocean looking to the background. Okay, so now this is what I did to create the sand. I took my texture paste, and this is well-loved texture paste, and I'm just going to put it down on my all-purpose mat, and then I can mix it up to get kind of what I'm looking for. I don't need very much because I'm just doing one card. So then I mixed it with a little bit of toffee re-inker. And then my platinum Stickles. So I just have like my palette knife here and I'm just mixing it up. So I'm happy with the color, and I know you guys can't see the sparkles. Let me just see if I can pick it up. So I actually am going to add just a little bit more of the diamond Stickles in there so that we'll get lots of sparkle in our sand. So if you wanted to make like a couple of these, I would have like all my backgrounds ready, right? And then make a few of them. And like I said, it turned out awesome on the slimline card, but I know some people don't like the slimline size. So I thought I would just convert this one to like an A2 size. Because I'm making it a shaker, I'm not going to go right to the edge. I just kind of took it to the edge and then I'll just scrape it off so that I could put my foam. And you could kind of just decide how high you want the ocean to go. On the slim line, of course, because it's like long and narrow, I didn't want the sandy floor to go all the way up the card. And you could create texture, right? Because it is the texture paste. So with my palette knife, I'm able to make parts of it look rougher than other parts of it. So you can see here on this one, I've got lots of nice texture there. So then I would just scrape off the very edge, because like I said, I know that I'm making it a shaker, and my frame and foam is going to go over it just like that. So there we go. That is kind of what I was hoping for. So there's lots of sparkle in there, and it's the right color and all those good things. I'm just going to wipe this off my surface. And I'm going to set this one aside to dry. You could pick it up off the table, but you can kind of see now it's got little bits of sparkle in there and some fun texture. Just kind of perfect. It really kind of just spoke to the sea for me. So I'm going to move this out of the way so we don't get stuff on my card. Okay, so this is what I've got happening here. So this is the one we're going to let dry. This is what I've used. So I did cut out a frame out of the wood grain paper. I really liked the light one for this one. And then I have a piece of foam and acetate to make my shaker window. But first of all, I'm going to color my images here. So I thought too, because I'm going to fussy cut them and add them to the card, I actually stamped them on shortbread to make it so that it wouldn't be a drastic difference between the white daisy and my ocean background once I fussy cut them out. So I like I said, I stamped them on shortbread just to kind of make it blend a little bit better into the background. And then I played around with a few different ways to color them. I love the fact that they all look just a little bit different. So we're going to do this guy and something along the lines of this today. So I'm going to use my same colors, and I have just a little scrap piece of paper I'm just going to put behind this paper to color on. So I'll just do this one first. So I'm going to use some dull green for my seaweed. And like I said, I did let the ink dry so that it wouldn't bleed. So the shortbread too will give me just a slightly little bit of a different variation on the coloring, but I did this on the slimline version that I have here, and I quite liked it. So we're just going to kind of keep it the same. I'm adding a little bit of some shadowing with the medium, and I will add in even a little bit of the dark. Okay, so then I'm going to use some muted brown, I think, to do my sponge here. And here it's kind of like almost like a nice cheat, right? Because I have that shortbread on the background here. So if for some reason I missed little bits, you still have some color on there, right? So I always color lightest to darkest, but lots of people go the opposite way. Just do whatever you're comfortable with. This image also is nice because it's got lots of the shadowing for you in there. So you just kind of need to follow it. Okay, so now I'm going to do this pretty little shell here, and I did it with coral and coral shades. So I'm going to go right to my medium, and I'm going to go from the medium coral, I'm going to go right to the lightest color of my shades because I really wanted a big contrast in the shell. So like I said, there's some nice, you can really see. So I'm just kind of dotting the darkest color in there. And then I'll go back with my medium coral and blend it all out. So just like that. Here, let me put you down just a little bit closer on my table so maybe you can see a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so I noticed here. Okay, and then I'm going to do the little pebbles here with my brown gray blend. But you could also very easily use the muted brown again. And like I said, I loved playing around with all the different colors to give it kind of different variations and looks. Okay, and now our little sand dollar. And this one I think I did with the muted brown, so maybe I will do that again. This one on here I went with like the coral shades. Oh, maybe I'll do, let's see, maybe we'll do gold. Let's see. No. We'll go back to the muted brown. And it's super quick to color this one because there's not a ton of space to actually color. And like I said, you can have so much fun with all the different variations. Okay, so now we need to do our little turtle over here. And so same thing, I'm going to use the muted brown on the spongy coral. We'll have to stamp our image, and I will also really quickly fussy cut this guy out. And it really didn't take very long. And then we can create our shaker. You gotta love a good shaker. And I thought kind of it just went perfectly with the theme of the ocean. So, and I'm going to stuff it with, I have some of the Lagoon loose gems, and then I have silver sequins, and I did just pull out the white ones and the kind of iridescent ones. So, okay, and then let's start on the turtle. So I think I am going to do his back with the light green, the medium. That's what I'm going to start with. So his shell. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to the dull green for his body. And this is the medium that I have. And on his shell, I'm going to add some of the actual, I think, yeah, gold brown again. No, it's, yeah, gold yellow. And it just kind of makes his shell look like it's got almost like not shine to it, but it's got more texture. So this was my medium, like I said, and I'll do some shading with the dark. And I'm not going to fussy cut out the bubbles. I'm going to cut around them because I've got enough distressing, I think, on with my background. So I'm just adding a little bit of the dark in some spots, and then again I'll blend it really quickly with the medium. So now on his shell, I'm going to take my gold yellow and just on the little pieces that like make up his shell, I'm just adding a little bit of the gold yellow, and it just kind of gives it a nice little, like he looks almost more like a tortoise shell, a tortoise turtle. I don't know. That's a tortoise. So because the two colors are kind of reacting together. And then if I want, I can go back over to blend it. And I'm actually going to add some more. Okay, so now I just need to do the seaweed here, and then we will trim these out. So again, I have the, oh no, that's not what I meant to do. I think we're going to do the dull green. So I think that's what I did in my other one. I'll just add a little bit more color. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to add a little bit of the dark in here. Like I said, this one is so fun to color. And not my normal, typical, cartoony like coloring. Okay, so I'm going to just quickly fussy cut this out. And I did go relatively close to the stamped image. Sorry, I was off camera there. So lots of times when you're fussy cutting something out that's got like on a white background, you can, you leave more of a border, and that's just so that nobody can, like, so it blends more into the background. But because my background is obviously the blues, I did keep it like I'm not on the line, but I'm just outside the stamping line, if that makes sense. And it's always helpful to have less paper than more paper. And I'm not really moving my scissors. I'm kind of moving the paper in my scissors. So I'm just going to go up here, and then I'm going to come back in and clean out that little space there. But that was just a natural spot because it's a little bit tight in here. You could also add just a little bit of distress ink to the edge to help blend it if you wanted to leave more of a border. I don't know, I have a hard time talking and fussy cutting at the same time. I'm sure it's just because I'm concentrating so that I don't cut off an important part of my stamped image. So I didn't actually decide how I'm going to put these inside the shaker, so we're going to have to figure that out. There we go. This is the wet one, so I think I'm going to use the dry one for sure. So we have this piece to add, and then we'll just quickly cut out this guy. So, and you can see how it kind of just totally blends into the background. You can't really tell that it wasn't necessarily stamped on there. So watching somebody fussy cut is for sure not the most exciting part of a project. But I was just so thrilled with how the sand turned out, and especially when you see it in real life. I know it doesn't look like real sand on the camera, but it does look great in person. Okay, almost done. Sorry, I keep pulling it closer to me. But when I put the camera down, then I am off because I'm not used to it being so close. Okay, so I'm just going to cut out the little middle piece here. I feel like I need a music to go along with my fussy cutting. Okay, we're in the final stretch. Like I should just speed up this part of the video and add a little bit of music. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking. This last little piece here. There we go. Okay, so because we're working on a much smaller space, let me get some of this stuff out of my way here. So I did also still cut out one of these for the background, but I actually think I'm going to just stamp right in there on my background, my sentiment. So for this, I did die cut out a white daisy piece, and then I actually also stamped that little starfish on there. But for this one, I actually think I'm just going to stamp it on my background. So I'm just going to stand up and move my chair out of the way here. I don't need my markers anymore. And there we go. Okay. So I think let's just pick So I think I'm going to stamp that right there. I'm just going to grab my Versamat. And that's another good thing, right, about having this background dry, because this Distress Oxide that I just did is still drying, right? So I don't want to be stamping on it because it's still wet. So here we go. So I have not actually attached anything down yet, but I want to be able to just figure out where I'm going to stamp. I actually thought I literally had grabbed my black ink right before, but I guess I didn't. Oh, you think it's brave? Well, I do have a backup if I mess it up. But also, I've used this stamp a lot, right? So that is another really good point about getting a good impression, right? Like that's why you season your stamp, right? So also just use it. The more you use it, actually, I think the better it stamps. So that is where I want it to go. And I can adjust my little guys if I have to. But the frame is like non-negotiable, right? Like that's where the frame is going to go. And you know what? If it's not exactly perfect, I'm okay to take my black pen and fix it. So I'm just letting it transfer. And there we go. And not bad. So I'm going to glue my pieces down first. And while this just finishes drying, before I take my anti-static pouch to it to turn this into a shaker. So I am going to use my liquid glass. But actually, I think I need to put this here so I don't put my pretty pieces that I spent coloring out of the frame. I'm just going to hold it for a second. And then I'm going to actually just put a block down on it for a second. Because I know right at the bottom it is a little bit rough because it is got all that texture paste on it. So I just want to make sure that everything is sticking down. So I'm just going to put some weight on it for a second. I'm just going to put my lid back on my liquid glass because I am notorious for doing that. Yes. So there we go. Okay, I'm just going to grab my anti-static pouch, which is right behind me. Okay, so there we go. I do have a card base here, but I think I am going to finish building it and then adhere it. So I can add my frame. I'll just move my card base over here just a little bit. So you could see this is the one I just did. And like I would be nervous to stuff that one right now because it is like it's dry but not like really dry. So you gotta love, I love these foam and acetate pieces that are just the right size. So I'm going to do my long side first. And then everything else should just fit right into place. Okay, and then save that for another one. And then I need to take the cover off my acetate. There is a protective cover on one side. And of course it's not that side. So I just have my piercing tool and I'm just pulling up like the little corner edge. Oh, but we need to stuff it. Okay, so like I said, in here I did use some of those Lagoon loose sequins, and then I have some of the iridescent sequins, loose gems. So I'm going to add some of those. I thought they played nicely off of the background. You could also use the clear ones. And then so I have lots of white in here from using all the silver ones. So I'm going to pick up some of the iridescent ones because I thought they were super pretty on the background. And then a few of the white ones, not a ton. There's also clear in here. There's an iridescent one. There's a clear one. I love the iridescent ones. I think they look great in here. There's another one. That's probably where we're going to stop. I love my little pickup tool. I can tell I need to sharpen it though. It's not as sticky as it should be. Okay, so now I can just take my backing off and add my acetate. And then, like I said, I did cut this out of the wood grain paper, and so that's what I'm going to use for my frame. I thought the sand would look great too on a scrapbooking layout. I kind of have an idea in my head, so we might see that might come about. But you could totally do something very similar on a scrapbooking layout. So I do prefer liquid glass to glue down my frame on my shaker. And I'm just gonna probably let it dry for a few minutes before I add it to my card front. So there we go. I'm just gonna hold it here for a second. I'll just put some weight on it for a second. And I will put the lid back on my liquid glass, and then I will adhere it to the front of my project. So I think it turned out really cute in both sizes. Those acetate sheets are very sticky though. Be careful. It's like also on the gems. I always find the little backing paper on stuff that I have. Okay, so just as a quick refresher, so I created the background with the peacock feathers and the mermaid lagoon. And then to create my sand, I used the texture paste and opaque matte and diamond stickles and toffee reinker. Obviously, too, you could even pull, if you didn't want as much color, you could pull color off of your ink pad too. if you didn't have re-inker. Okay. Then we did our coloring, and now all I have to do is add it to my card front. Same thing, I'm lining up one of my long edges first before I lined up the side. Let me get this out of the way. So there we go. I think it turned out really cute. So there you go. That is my card for today using the Voice of the Sea. I keep wanting to call it voices because there's like more animals on the front than just one. Oh, let me put you this way. That's probably better so you could still see. So here is the slimline version. And then the one I did today, which is just the standard A2, which is like 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So all I did was really condense the images. They're exactly the same images. I just used a different sentiment on this one, and I just stamped that one right onto the background, and it kind of just blends right there into the ocean, right? So that's what I've got for you guys today. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, guys.